Hey gang, Uncle Todd and Sonny here, and this week we are looking at one of the many variations on the legend of Sleepy Hollow. This is a made-for-TV movie. Now, I know I highlighted Sleepy Hollow as part of a Vincent Price Halloween special. You want to check back on that one. But that was a very truncated version, and this is a very expanded version. It's a very family-friendly oriented film. And as such, there's a lot of comedy and romantic entanglements. So it's not quite what you would expect from a adaptation of the Washington Irving story, but it also has a kind of a sweet and happy ending. We open with Ichabod Crane, played by Jeff Goldblum, who is coming to Sleepy Hollow to be the new schoolmaster and runs into a bit of trouble. Chased up a tree, he's in dire straits until Brom Bones and his friend Freddie, a character not in the book, come upon him. Now, Brom is played by the excellently cast Dick Butkus, former Chicago Bear, and a very decent actor after his football career, probably best known for the TV adaptation of the thriller film Blue Thunder, although I remember him in the slasher Death Games. He was a minor character, not the killer or one of the victims. Anyways, he helps Ichabod out of this predicament in a very Brom Bones way. Aww. Turns out the dogs were friendly and just wanted to get kisses. The person who was observing this was Mr. Vanderhoof, played by John Sylvester White, best known for Assistant Principal Woodman on the 70s sitcom Welcome Back, Kotter. He's the one who's going to help Ichabod with the school. And he takes him to the school where he meets some of the children, climbing up on top of the roof to get something for one of the children. And we get a meet cute of him and Katrina Van Tassel. Which of course leads to the usual result.
I'm sorry, mademoiselle. I was only trying...
Indeed you were, sir.
Yep, they've fallen in love. Oh, but Van Hoof does warn Ichabod that Ron Bones, the toughest, roughest guy in the area, has set his sights on Katrina. And anyone that shows her any attention gets run out of town by him. So he better be careful, because the last school teacher got run out of town by him. And we also learned that there's an owl who is supposedly the reincarnated spirit of an Indian chief. And there's a bunch of other stories Van Hoof talks to him about ghosts and ghouls and goblins and things, and the Headless Horseman legend. And, well, Ichabod scoffs. He's a man of reason. And when he finds the smelly poultices that Van Hoof has put into the school to protect it from spirits, he decides to show what reason can do.
This vile stench.
No, you can't do that.
Ichabod has got a lot to learn about what goes on in Sleepy Hollow. Well, after his first class, Vanderhoof invites him over to dinner so he can meet his daughter, the widow Thelma Dumpke. She's on the lookout for a new husband. And she stuffs him full. And noticing that his clothes are threadbare because he is a very poor man, she decides to give him some of her late husband's clothes after she's taken them in a bit. And then he sees something in the window.
A tuck here and a tuck there, and it'll fit you better than it did Dumpke.
Oh, who could that be?
Man's face. It was big, heavy, it had a big, white, bushy beard.
White beard?
Yes, wild-eyed look. Mole on the cheek.
Palmer!
Winthrop Palmer? I thought you said he was dead.
He is!
Huh. So the ghost of Ichabod's predecessor is hanging about. After the dinner, he makes his way back to the schoolhouse where he also sleeps. He gets scared by Palmer again. Then the next day, some kids are scared by the headless horseman.
What?
He's chasing us! Run! Look, sir! He doesn't have a head! Look!
Morning, sir. My mother told me to bring you this great coat to go with your other.
Oh. Later that day, there's a accident with the stove and the whole school gets smoked out. Luckily, Brom Bones is passing by and decides to help. And he's not exactly the godsend he appears to be.
Thank you, Mr. Bones. It got out of hand really kind of fast for me.
You stay away from my girl, or it's going to get a lot hotter around here for you than that stove.
Now, next day at church, Squire Von Tassel is a little miffed at Brom Bones because, well, he's been wanting to court Katrina, and the Squire allowed him to, but it's been 3 years and no proposal. Well, Brom doesn't like to be rushed, but he also sees that Ichabod and Katrina seem to be getting awful chummy, too, despite his warning. So, at choir practice, which Ichabod is choir master for, he and Fred decide to spy on him.
Bang! B! Stop. Do that? That's no.
Being that Brom and Fred have no idea about musical theory or singing techniques, they of course take the completely wrong interpretation.
Well, what are they up to?
They seem to be puckering up their lips and making faces at each other.
All of them? Right out in a bare open church?
Yeah, just bold as brass. I mean, no shame at all.
Well, they've got to put a stop to that. Shockingly. So, they go into the church and they peek in and they notice Katrina and Ichabod are making eyes at each other. So the plan is to ring the church bell to bring everybody out, and they'll see just how weird that Ichabod is. Unbeknownst to them, Potter is, or is it Porter? The former schoolmaster happens to be up in the steeple. So things don't go quite the way they planned.
What's the matter?
I can't like you. Wait.
What's the matter with you, Fred? Come on.
It won't come down.
This eventually leads to a bit of a calamity. Well, of course, after this embarrassing display, Katrina is a bit cold towards Brom. And, being the bully he is, he immediately blames Ichabod and vows revenge. Now, the squire has been hearing some odd stories about Ichabod. So he goes to talk to Vanderhoof about it, and Vanderhoof comes up with the idea that, what'll help him out is if he gets married. That'll settle him down. Well, Van Tassel knows that he and Katrina have been getting a little close, and he doesn't relish the idea of Katrina marrying him. But Vanderhoof has a better idea. Marry him to his daughter. And that will solve everything. Well, Vanderhoof approves of this idea. Unfortunately, the daughters have other ideas.
Why, Thelma Dumpke, you're in love with Brom Bones.
Yeah, I have been ever since I first saw him. Only married Dumpke to make him jealous. Now he only has eyes for you, poet.
You're falling in love with Ichabod Crane? Silly, isn't it?
Well, of course. They're going to now team up to get the men they want, regardless of what their fathers think. As for Ichabod, he gets a visit from a ghostly person.
I have returned to avenge myself upon Brom Bones for his treatment of me. And then I shall exorcise the headless horseman, casting both into the eternal pit of perdition.
Yes, it's Winthrop Palmer, returned from the dead, if he died. Neat trick with the stove there. Anyway, after he proves himself to be totally out of it, Ichabod tells this to Vanderhoof, who thinks, yep, you've seen a ghost. And then, after another excellent meal by Miss Dumpke, Ichabod returns to find his schoolhouse in a shambles. Why, they even changed his owl into a statue. Ichabod suspects Palmer. About that time, the Van Tassel servant Carl shows up. He's there to drop off a book for Ichabod that Katrina wanted him to read. And when he leaves, Ichabod hears a scream. Wow. Ichabod takes Carl, who's now catatonic, back to Van Tassel's to tell them what happened. While he's gone, Brom and Freddy come out of hiding, clean the place back up, and get the owl from where they had stashed it, and then hide again to wait to see the reaction. Now, Ichabod tells Van Tassel he saw the horseman, that's why Carl is in that state, and about the shambles in the schoolhouse, but he suspects it's Palmer, but he's scoffed at Palmer drowned in the river. But he'll accompany Ichabod back to schoolhouse to see this activity that has happened. And when they go there, whole place is perfectly fine. Even the owl is alive now. Of course, Vanderhoof thinks it's just simple poltergeist activity. Nothing to be afraid of. They're harmless. Well, now we get to the winter ball, a precursor to our Halloween party, you might say. And things do not go well. Because just as Ichabod's relaxing, this happens. Well, I think we can guess what happens next.
Get out from behind there. Whoa!
Oh, wait a minute!
Now stop.
Bob.
Pinch face. Oh, yes.
What are you doing here? Put him down! Put him down!
Needless to say, Ichabod is forbidden from ever returning to the Van Tassels. Although he and Katrina meet behind the barn for a little
Sex.
No! In that day and time, kiss is all you get. If that. But then he's heading home, and then around the other side of the barn, Brom and Fred are making their plans. This is going to be another ride of the Headless Horseman. Now, Palmer's inside the barn, and he overhears this, and he's got plans of his own that unfortunately get thwarted.
I'm gonna run that long-necked, skinny Yankee teacher critter so far out of this county, he won't never come back. Come on.
Well, while Freddie and Brom make their preparations to run Ichabod out of town, Van Tassel wishes the last of his guests, the Vanderhoofs, off, and hears a strange sound in his barn.
Oh. Palmer. Great heavenly days and nights, what are you doing here?
Oh, nothing much really, Squire. Just hanging about, eh?
Well, now he realizes Ichabod was telling the truth. Maybe he's not the weirdo they think he is, and he owes him a great apology. But as for Palmer, the squire has him tied up, thrown on a sled, and taken out of the county. It's obvious he's a madman. They got to take him somewhere to rest. Meanwhile, Ichabod is encountering the Headless Horseman. Scared, not too bad chase until Ichabod outmaneuvers him. Okay, maybe it wasn't a planned maneuver, but still. They get separated as Ichabod has to chase his horse into the woods. And Brom has a problem of his own that he runs into. Well, Brom quickly recovers. And Ichabod runs into the horseman again. When
Your hula hoops.
Thanks, Velma. But she's right, because this happens.
Great jumping Jehoshaphat. It's really him.
Well, Brom and Fred head off away from the horseman who chases them. And who should they run into?
Papa, what are we gonna do?
Don't notice him? Maybe he'll go away.
Of course, about this time, Freddy shows up, calling out his name, which has a bit of a turn of events Brom didn't count on.
Now we know who the Headless Horseman is.
Brom Bones. So you're the one's been scaring Sleepy Hollow all these years. Wait till the squire hears about this.
Thelma, she's got a better idea.
Maybe there's a way that nobody has to know about the trick that Brom's been playing.
I'll do anything, anything.
You wouldn't want to be spreading rumors around about a new son-in-law, would you?
Thelma got her man. Well, Brom can only agree. After all, he'd get run out of the county if they heard he was running around as the Headless Horseman. Ichabod, who's also encountered the horseman, is convinced it's Palmer, and he gives chase. And where should he chase the horseman to?
Stop, Mr. Palmer!
Well, Ichabod, having chased the horseman there and lost him, talks to the squire, but the squire says, "Hey, I know all about Palmer. Found him in the barn. I know that none of this was your fault. He was pulling all these pranks." And Ichabod starts to argue, but Katrina finds a way to de-escalate the situation.
I've been chasing Winthrop.
Kiss me.
Come inside. We'll have some chocolate and talk about a few things.
Well, Ichabod does want to try to figure things out, but when you got someone like Meg Foster locking lips with you, better just let it go. And as for the horseman, well, he continues to roam the forest, a myth or a legend, as it were. It's a pleasant film, very family-friendly oriented. Enough spooky stuff there at the end, and some of the poltergeist activity that happens around is kind of intriguing, but it is really just, it's more for kids, families. They play really fast and loose with the actual story. Jeff Goldblum is perfect as Ichabod Crane, a very intelligent, awkward, sometimes overconfident, but a little cowardly. It's a good performance. Meg Foster of They Live fame is really good as Katrina. You can actually see her slowly becoming more and more interested in Ichabod because of the kind of man he is. Dick Bacchus. Gotta love Dick Bacchus there. He makes a perfect Brom Bones. He's big, he's gruff, but there's a sweetness about him, as comes from the actual man himself. And he's amusing. All in all, an okay kind of a film. Perfect for the holiday. Something you could show your younger kids without worrying about them getting too scared. but all in all, not something I would go to now more than maybe once or twice in my lifetime. I just prefer something a little more what's the right word? Like last week's, a little more sinister and suspenseful and tension filled. But yeah, it's not bad. Please hit like, share, and subscribe. And as always, stay after the credits for my favorite scene.